Well, we'll call our meeting to order at 7:23. Roll call. Matt Horn.
Terry Case.
Chris Williams.
Mark Howard. David. Okay, Greg is away today. I think he was in Portland or something. Do we need to add anything to the agenda?
Man, I can add celebration and business statement update for if anybody has any. I brought some with me and I've got the signed digital from the contractor and from Gordon Budget that I can pass out.
Good division and
The signed bid from the mission vision.
also have any other agenda items?
No.
I would entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
I will second that.
Moved by Chris, second by Terry. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Yep. Public comment. We'll get into financials. Payment of the bills.
So I have a question about the capacity grant. So I noticed we took a little over $61,000 draw off of that this month. What's the duration that grant's supposed to cover? What do we use it for? And is that, I mean, it seems like a lot in 1 month, so I'm just curious about that too.
So, the little question you asked what it's for us to employ one officer and us to employ one firefighter. The duration of the grant is until it's expended, and we're a little bit ahead. We're a little bit behind schedule on it, but that's not a bad thing. When the grant is expended, it's gone, and I'm not sure of the reason why $61,000 was taken out of it, but it may have been to get us caught back up with the financial footprint in those two positions. If they were paid from another source, that's all I can think of.
So how long are you anticipating that this grant is going to fund those two positions?
Probably 1 more year.
So this next fiscal year?
Yes.
So fiscal 26.
I'm just looking, we're down to $94,000. That's why I was asking. Yeah.
So that's the the 90, 60, 20 or whatever it is. Is it that one? Where it funds 90%, 50%, and then 12% on year 3. Is that the
I think
one?
it's that one. We've got 2 grants, and it's multiple pages. I have to read into to read my rights up.
I've got another, I guess, a couple of questions. We're showing $70,000 in fire patrol. Is something in that line item that doesn't belong there? Because we budgeted $9,100.
I'm not sure. That's a bunch of money in that.
That's a bunch of money.
As an expenditure?
Yeah, in our July through April timeframe, we've spent $70,000 on fire patrol. And then they're in personnel services, we've got over $45,000. Do you know what that is?
Personnel services, the other 45,000.
And then we're not showing any payroll tax for the medic on the P and L.
That's because it's going in under, all of the payroll taxes are going in under the upper. And it's way over, so.
Yep, you're right.
Payroll taxes,
Yep.
so it pretty much averages itself out if you include the amount for the medic. And that's how it's been for a couple of years.
So are we getting the right split on that? When we're billing the health district for expenses each month, are we getting that split correctly?
I'm not sure. I would imagine that we are. Joanna, is there a formula for that split, or is it the payroll tax for the individual, or how does it work?
Employee is either a user or a medic. Their wages coincide. If their wages are medic, then their taxes are medic. There is another report that I ran on to that I think I just ran out. 3
Correct.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
That showed a better split on this.
That-
So if
So like right here,
you would like, I can. maybe
on the
start
payroll
turning it
taxes,
around.
she's got it broken down to what's under fire and what's under medic.
So I wonder why it's showing under classes, Joanne. Ah, I know why. Okay. So we could probably just get rid of this line down here then, since it's a subclass in the other one.
See, a lot of this, I really don't have any control over, because I'm not doing the payroll.
That is true.
But it's been this way as far as the taxes for a couple of years. Everything's showing on the profit and loss that's coming out of the fire and nothing coming out of the medic, because I brought it up last year sometime, last fiscal year sometime. But as long as, and it's always zero on the medic one, so. As long as they're keeping track of it on that other sheet. I think we're fine.
Anything else?
I didn't have anything, so I make a motion to approve the financial information.
Okay. Moved by Terry,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mark. Those in favor?
Aye.
I
Those opposed? Payment of bills.
move we pay the bills.
Okay. Moved by Chris,
I will second that.
seconded by Terry. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes from last meeting.
Good to me.
I didn't see
I didn't see
anything.
anything.
Yeah.
So I make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Terry, seconded by Chris. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
And then, do we need to approve the minutes from the work session, the budget work session?
Yeah. Jill, are those in here as well, or was it just the, it was
They were
like,
sent out,
yeah,
Is it the one Terry sent?
no. No, the work session was,
They were kind of joint minutes, so they
Yeah.
might have,
it was
Chris
a
might have
joint
signed it.
between the two,
they,
The two
yeah, they weren't
districts.
separate, really.
yeah.
And I don't think there was signatures at the bottom.
I thought you guys agreed that you didn't have to sign off on
Okay.
that one, so it should be,
Because it was a
Okay.
work session.
should be in those papers.
and then I don't know if the minutes for I didn't see that the minutes for the executive session went out.
You're
But I
right.
should approve those. I can show you what was sent to Jill if you guys want.
I can go print it out.
Um, If you want to print those out, you probably need a hard copy of it.
So, we're debating on the ending time, but.
Well, that was
Right, yeah.
that was the minutes from the March meeting. And I know that we had over a 4-hour meeting that night, so I know that that end time was correct. The April meeting, we were at 9:45, around 9:43 or something.
That sounds
And
right.
so the April meeting was shorter. So there's what I should print it off, but that's what I wrote up
Order.
for the executive session.
The
April
9:48.
17th.
Yeah, that looks good, Terry.
Nine forty,
9:48,
9:48. That was April, but it was
just pretty late.
it was 10:40 something when we adjourned in the March meeting.
Yeah, right accurate.
Cause I remember I went to work and said, my meeting was 4.5 hours. 4 hours and 15 minutes.
So do you need a motion to approve the executive session minutes?
Yep.
I so moved.
Okay, moved by Chris,
I'll say it.
seconded by Mark. Those in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed, got
That one's the one we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the original, so I don't know if you guys want to sign it, and then,
Yeah.
okay. These
Yeah,
are copies
well, I
of it.
Yeah, I showed him on my phone. So. Thank you, Jill.
Okay, we're signed, sure, and then this is. Work session, and then I cross that out, but it said.
So this one, so this is the March one. That one was the April one, right? These ones are the March.
This is the
This is
March one.
April.
This one is the March. March one. That was the one you had questions on.
It's the time,
The time.
at home at midnight.
Okay. Pay policy, payroll, CBA, probably be a little bit of discussion here. The Jensen and Spratling, maybe, pay policy, payroll, collective bargaining agreement. And I guess there's another ask there. So the CBA comes up later, so I think we should probably table that part of it. But it does drive into the pay policy and what that's gonna look like. So we still need to draft up what the pay policy is gonna be, the overarching, so that however the CBA goes in, will follow the outline of the pay policy, if that makes sense. Kind of under the payroll, I guess, is there any discussion on the pay policy before we do that?
I think until we see what the CBA looks like, yeah.
On the payroll side, you know, we do have Jensen and Spratling currently doing that. Their estimates here, maybe it's coming in a little higher than what our estimates were. You said it was 35 or 38?
Last month we spent 3,500.
Was that a total amount or?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that was for both.
17 something each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for the bookkeeping payroll, they had 650 to 850 for the health district, 2,000 to 3,000 for the fire district. And you just roll those together, it's 2,600 to, 3,800 a month. So it's fallen within what they estimated for us. Whether the split's right, I don't know. I did have a conversation with Jared Uselman, who's the collective bargaining president for Pendleton Fire. We met last week. I can talk about that a little bit later. I can talk about it now, however, but he did mention that the city of Pendleton would be willing to possibly do our payroll. I don't think that included monthly bookkeeping, but I think that included payroll, especially if we fall under their collective bargaining in the future. They're looking at, our 6 or 7 people, and if we included the permanent staff, it'd be 10. I have not talked to them personally yet. I'd be willing to, if the board supports, at least to see what they would be willing to, how much they would charge us. So before we make any decisions there.
Where's her house?
Is this appropriate time to ask what our future plans are for bookkeeping?
Well, I think that's part of the discussion.
Oh, okay.
Is do we maintain Jensen and Spratling? Do we look at other options? Do we look at, is Pendleton an option? Is in-house an option? Like what? Yes.
Okay.
What that What's everybody think?
Is your target still to be done after the fiscal year switches over? Is that what you'd like?
I am willing to stay as long as I need.
Oh, that's a big decision.
I've said that all along. If,
I mean,
if I'm not needed, then, no problem.
would you want to take back over do all of the payroll and everything? That's what I'm asking.
Does that mean no?
That was a no. You shut that down pretty quick.
didn't say no.
Be careful, Chris.
No payroll.
Bookkeeping, okay, payroll, no.
Fine. But payroll, I'll help on this end, to get stuff. where it belongs.
Organized, yeah.
But if there's options out there that are better without me being here, go for it. I'm not. I'm here until I'm.
So you're not needed.
Until I'm not. There you go.
So just to be clear, Joanne, you're
Yes,
interested potentially in bookkeeping, not payroll.
correct.
So I think what we need to do is I think we gotta keep Jensen and Spriling involved for now, like do nothing until we have something else ready to go.
Are we asking them to do more than just a monthly payroll run?
No,
That's so we're spending $3,500 on one payroll run. Where they're not doing any additional, I mean, obviously I know there's taxes that have to be filed and all that, but that's it?
I would have to look and review that, but that 3,500 amount seems a bit high. I think that was, I'm thinking that was involving some extra time that was put forth to either make the
You know,
form.
They did
excuse
some-
me, but that probably included quarterly. I'm just gonna.
And they were doing some, cleanup stuff too from previous, because they kind of went through the audit and they went through, I got an email from them a while back.
Okay.
But, well, it wasn't an email, it was a printout, it was in one. I have it somewhere.
Yeah, because they would have to do the quarterly reports, payroll
Sure.
reports, and then anything, if there's any withholding, for child support or that.
Right.
They've got all that stuff.
Right.
Most of the time it's about 1,650 or 1,750 is the bill, the yellow paper that she's in.
Yeah, that would seem more like
About that.
in the ballpark.
You know, may I make a suggestion? Anytime you've got a question that's specific like this, if you could let me know ahead of the meeting, I could pull all of that information and have it available. Whereas getting it right now, I can't tell you what that amount is without going and pulling the invoice. So if you let me know ahead of time.
Well, I know like with my accountant, I have a yearly contract, for those services. And so I have an idea if I don't ask them to do anything extra, I know what that amount is.
Okay, I thought I had something in there with it, but I don't. But they were doing some,
You feel like there were some extra duties?
there was some other stuff, because they were validating, we had the audit done, but they were validating the discrepancies between, not the discrepancies, if you phrase that, are right sizing our books and like, here's the audit and here's how we're right sizing the books. They're helping us get back on track. So I think it's probably gonna be a little more, and hopefully that's not an
Ongoing.
ongoing expense every month.
So I guess the question is, with Jill pursuing other things, what sort of administrative support do we need here? And is that something that can be bind, or can those duties be assigned to somebody that's already on staff, the support role, and then we outsource the book, or Joanne takes care of the bookkeeping,
Yeah, so if we've got, so there's the bookkeeping, there's payroll, and then there's,
HR.
well, there's HR and paying bills and doing the
all
other
the,
stuff.
yeah.
Because that's not part of the bookkeeping and it's not part of the payroll.
Right.
So there is still paying bills and the typical day-to-day administration stuff too, so. What do you think?
No, that's why I threw it out there. If Joanne could handle the bookkeeping, and if, I didn't know if we already had somebody on staff that was underutilized that could pick up some of the other duties, or if we need to rehire a position. That's why I brought that question up.
What are your plans? What are you thinking? As far as filling Jill's.
I personally want to see if there's fruit in the tree that Matt's talking about, because I think long game, I think that's gonna take care of an awful lot of things that we struggle with. And finding personnel is starting to be a little bit of an issue. So, that's a system that's set up and it's literally as simple as Matt was saying earlier, plugging 6 or 10 names into the system and going forth with it. So, that's very interesting, very intriguing to me.
Well, but that's specifically payroll though, right, Dave?
Yeah, I thought,
No, what about picking up
What,
all the things that Jill's been doing?
that Jill's been doing, what were your thoughts as far as filling the position that Jill was in?
first off, I think that we could probably manage a part-time person in the front and have the staff come forth. If somebody hits the doorbell, have the staff come forth and see to their needs. I've given that a little bit of thought, not as much as I want to, and Andy and I have to do a little bit more idea sharing, but it makes me wonder if we can do that at least for 3 months or 2 months or 4 months or something like that until we can put a really good solid plan going forward together. And again, if there is fruit on what the trio that Matt was talking about, then perhaps there's a certain amount of utilization that we can do there. I do like the idea of, like Chris was saying, maybe we have a staff member that's underutilized that could possibly serve in that capacity, but I don't know for sure. With the last couple of weeks, I've just been having a lot of things go through my tiny brain, and I was surprised, as all of us, probably even Jill, about her decision and the change that it's going to necessitate that we have to take and move forward and find a way to make positive happen. So I haven't thought all the way through that yet. And again, Andy and I need to idea balance, and I believe we'll come up with something that's going to work for us well.
So I don't want to put Jill on the spot, but I think what I read is you've alluded to sticking around until you find other employment potentially, or do you have a hard date?
I don't have a hard date.
You have a hard date, okay.
We talked about at least through the month. But I could stay longer. I do have an opportunity. But it won't be until June, mid-June probably, if it even happens.
Of 26.
So big rocks, payroll, bookkeeping, the paying bills and the other stuff here, and then the HR, right? Are those the big rocks? Do I have that right? We've got payroll covered, at least for now. We've got bookkeeping covered for now. We've got 2 managers that are gonna be HR people for the interim. So it's really gonna come down to finding somebody to.
The clerical and, yeah.
Get that stuff done in the short term.
Sounds like your typing's gonna get better, Dave.
Yeah.
Better? Promise?
Practice makes perfect.
I think it's good for you and Andy to talk through some of that. I guess I would. Before you. I guess an ask would be before you fly a position or put something out on the streets, maybe consult back with the board on.
Definitely.
Trying to get some of these other things. We can run into a corner, so.
But I feel that to allow them to do what they need to do, there needs to be something.
Yeah.
At least part-time in that.
Whether that's part-time or, yeah.
You know, we've kicked around before about exploring a partnership with one of the city halls, you know, that may have somebody that's not working full-time or, you know, whatever.
We did talk about that with the city of Weston a while back. I would hesitate to use that for now.
But I was thinking maybe Helix or Adams or Athena, or, you know, they might have some extra capacity with somebody.
Yeah, and that wouldn't. If somebody's got some links there to those folks,
I mean, I don't know, but I don't think it wouldn't be bad to make a phone call. Yeah.
I don't think Helix, our city recorder is, Kylie McClintock, who is a CPA and has her own business, so
Oh, really?
I don't think that, I mean, and then we just have a shop guy or a worker.
Gotcha.
Jeff Isles is our maintenance guy. So I don't think that the city of Helix has anybody extra. Um,
so it'd be Adams or Athena.
If you're looking for part-time, we have a lot of teachers out there that are twiddling their thumbs for the summer. You might get them to come for 4 hours a day through the summer. By then, we might have other options.
Just buy some time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I would empower everybody to explore their connections and run some trap lines and see what's out there.
Please.
We all make a contact or make a phone call or two, maybe somebody will get.
We probably have to talk to, yeah, Michelle Fox might have some ideas too. She's retired. Would she still have some ideas about who to call or
Yeah, you can certainly reach out to them.
after she gets back from surgery?
We could stop in and talk to Kara. She's the assistant, you know, so she's the,
The gal that's up front,
yes,
person that sits up front.
person that sits up front. Yeah.
Michelle has been replaced by
Jen Thule.
Thule, yes, Thule, thank you.
I don't think Pendleton or Walla have temp services, do they?
There is a tip
Professional
service in
service.
Pendleton.
Is there?
yeah.
So that might be something to reach out just as a temporary. I know when I first went to work for the commission in Eugene, they had a temp person as their main point of contact.
I think for opener and business hours and
Like clerical
stuff,
stuff.
possibly, but I hesitate to put a temp in paying bills.
Well, yeah,
No, the
Leave it to the experts.
checks, yeah, that's,
So are we gonna have to change any stuff at the bank with Jill leaving?
yes. Account accesses and
Mhm.
things of that nature, yes.
So we need to put something in the minutes that as of whatever date that she's removed from the account.
You said mid-June? So that's about when we meet next. Roughly.
I guess we just put it on the agenda for next month to take care of that.
Anything else on payroll?
When do we
admin, et cetera?
expect to have are you coming back to the, okay, sorry to jump in. Okay.
Yeah, it's. Well, we could do it now, I guess. But it's later on, it's under new business, there's CBA.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
Let's spell that wrong too.
Gotcha.
So I could probably cover it all there.
Perfect.
Okay. Budget work session update. So we had a budget work session week before,
Couple of weeks ago.
a couple weeks ago. Kind of a joint budget work session. I think it was very, very valuable. I think it was more, we didn't get into the fire district budget as much as the medic district budget. As the medic budget drives the fire budget with the IGA. So I guess, an overview there or a concept is, we are eating into the contingency on both sides, on both of the budgets, at varying rates. I wouldn't classify anything as, there's not an emergency right now, nor will be at the pace in the short term or midterm, so things look good for a couple of years, but we need to really dive into some stuff in the next year to really make sure that we're solvent further out, 5 years out, 10 years out. So I guess that's kind of a snapshot. Chris, not necessarily, that sounds.
Yeah, I think that's very accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what that means, but I think there probably needs to be some more budget work sessions to kind of look, a little deeper at some line items and explore out some of the personnel stuff that we're looking at. I know you sent that spreadsheet out. I haven't gone into depth and started modifying anything on there yet. But I think that was a really good starting place for us to really look at a visual.
So do we need to, are you saying that we need to get the medic budget more succinct before we can do anything with the fire budget? Is that where you're kind of at?
Well, I think that's gonna drive it, so yeah, that needs to get into alignment, but they both feed off of there, and what we do to one affects the other.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
So
I think other than adjusting some, cash on hand stuff, I think the medic budget is pretty good. I think we've kind of estimated the IGA payment and the positions that can be afforded. And like Dave said, we've got to pass a budget next month, so we're going to have to work this out in the next 4 weeks, basically. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm less concerned about the short term. It's that 3 to 5 years.
I
out.
gotcha.
If we're working on this for the next, if we can put some work in over the next year to affect 2 plus 3 plus years out, I think that's where I think we need to go.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that we need to have a monthly budget work session, but maybe a quarterly or every so often, we should probably get together and strategize on ideas, staff, and what what it looks like. So the CBA will be, a factor in that. But the more work we can do on the front end, I think that'll make the CBA stuff go smooth too. So anything else on the budget work session?
I feel, well, yeah. I feel like we're kind of leaving Chief Beatty in a limbo here as far as, do we need to just wait until next month and then we'll figure out the budget for this next year?
We can, but we just have to make it awfully, I'm jumping here, we just have to be awfully sure that adopt, I should use the word, adopt the budget and then sign the resolution, because we are.
Right, it has to be done next year.
It must be,
It's done, yeah.
or else we get everybody together on June 29th. And so let's get it done next month. Yeah.
Okay. All right, next thing is CBA. So I met with Jared a week or two, no, maybe it was last week. It's all running together. I think it was last week. Just talk a little bit about what I'll say his vision. I don't know if it's his vision or the staff's vision. He's the union president for Pendleton Fire. And just kind of, we just talked concepts about what, you know, what the collective bargaining agreement, you know, could look like or would look like. It seems to me that there's a lot of pretty standard language in those, like how you open it, how you close it, how you do this, how you do that, and that's pretty standard, industry standard. I'm not really concerned about those items in there. Actually, that's probably where a lot of that'll become a rule book, or like, you know, as you guys know, and so that'll simplify some things. Where I think we'll have the most discussion, negotiation will be around pay, benefits, and probably to some degree scheduling. And I'm not sure how that'll all go, but what you know, what the process was talked about was basically once you agree to kind of the rules, then you start the negotiation clock, and that's like 150 days that you have to button it all up and be done.
Gotcha.
At Pendleton, they do 3-year contracts. You can do 1-year, 2-year, or 3-year contracts. They've elected to do the longer term ones so that they're not. You do a 1 year, you're always doing it every year. So they're, you know, his suggestion maybe was look at the 3-year type thing and just keep some notes. Oh yeah, we got to modify this so we can do that at the next up period. And I kind of told him I'd rather take a little more time to get it as right as we can get it versus getting it done as fast as we can get it. So he seemed to think that was better also. So that's good. Conceptually, I think he'll be on the negotiation side. I think it'll probably be James here. He thought about bringing in another, for lack of a better word, trainee, both on, I think he had somebody in mind in Pendleton, that's, you know, looking at that, and also somebody here. So there might be 4 maybe from here. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but having James is the primary and having somebody else that's kind of running the process. My suggestion to him was on the district side, we want the chief there, and probably at least a couple board members. So I'm willing to be on that group if the board deems it, but I would also be looking for other volunteers on the board to be part of that negotiation. So I don't want to put it all on the chief, and I don't want to take it all on myself, but I think with, you know, if they're going to have 3 or 4 folks at the table, I think we should have 3 or 4 folks at the table.
I have the meetings at 8. They bring their entire executive board, the board. If I have as many as of 4 that you mentioned plus the board. Well, not that it's a balanced thing or 10 people, 2 people, and stuff like that, but just.
So having a couple more folks involved would be really, really good. Not asking for volunteers today. We probably should have some people identified because, you know, we could be starting in the, you know, June, July, and running it through the summer. It doesn't have to last 150 days. We get to where we get to for that. That'd be rather than go 150 days.
Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's 15, 20, 30 minutes. Done.
But yeah, I think sticking to the big things, not getting in too far down in the weeds, you know, at least get something in place that makes some sense. Would be good.
Now, is this just the fire board, or would you be looking for people from the fire and medic boards as a combined?
I'm looking for
I mean, I
I'm
would just,
I'm speaking to the fire board, but I would encourage any board member from either board to,
well, I would suggest having representatives from both boards.
Yeah.
That would be my suggestion, not have them all from one.
I have no objections.
so I think. I think I would like folks to mull it around. Christine's not here. You know. Maybe talk to her, I can talk to her, maybe by June, we should have maybe we should nominate some people to be on the team at our June meeting. I can hold off any kind of clock starting until middle of June, I think, pretty. That's what I have there. Okay. Monthly safety fuels vehicles. See report.
I've got the report for the fuels crew and the vehicles here for everybody, if you want to take a look at it. The big thing on the vehicle report is that the quantum pumper is still up at Hughes. And it concerns me a little bit because it's been there so long. I'm just hoping Nick is gonna be a nice guy when it comes to writing our bill.
That's the one that had the leak, is that right?
Yes, it had one deep down inside it and just touching things.
Yeah, you gotta take apart other stuff to get to that. Yeah.
I'm hoping that Nick is gonna be a nice guy when it comes to it. The fuels crew, I'm really quite proud of Max. He's doing a pretty good job with not only what we're doing to properties, the 0 to 10, 10 to 50, 50 to 100. Not only that, but also he's training guys, and one or two of the persons that he has, I think both of them are going to be, Jade is coaching them up for becoming wildland firefighters as well. So if you think in your mind, if they're in type 6 up on the hill, taking care of whatever, limiting some trees or whatever, and then we pop a fire, whether down the flats or up above, those persons can simply put on a banana shirt and a helmet and some gloves, and then boom, they can put there. But not too off the bat.
Quick question. The fuels crew started on May 28th of this year, but today's May 15th. Is that they're going to start, or is this a misprint?
I'm not sure. It may be a misprint. I didn't make that. I'm not sure.
I'm
Okay,
guessing it's supposed to be April.
April 28th.
That sounds likely.
Okay, any other questions there? Chief report?
Earlier I made the edits on the chief's report. Everybody kind of heard it. There's a couple more. The IGA that we've got with Pendleton is, it's still in place, of course, and we're adding the addendum to it on the chief's report in case anybody needs it. We're adding an addendum to it once it's all worked out on the transfers. And the tough part about that, it's not so much doing the transfer, it's what the procedure is for how people are notified or how because there's a clock that ticks once St. Anthony's or in the future, St. Mary's or others call us. If there is a clock that's ticking before they receive a commitment, then that's the tough part about it. The procedure is. We have no sample set to draw from to say that's going to create a revenue base of $10 a month. That's going to create $10 billion worth. We have no, since this is brand new, we have no sample set. Therefore, that's not in the budget anywhere. Rather than just flat out, yes. And since the IGA between districts, entities rest with the bosses. We'll make sure that's before anything is, well, they sign it, so they're gonna have a chance to read it and see where it's at. And I know I mentioned this earlier, but if anybody wants to be here for the warranty walkthrough for the building on Monday morning at 9 a.m., please be here if you want to. It's interesting. We started moving into this building in the week of the 26th of July of last year. So that year isn't up to me until September 1. So we'll see how it played out. We'll see what they say.
You support. Mission vision.
So all of our documents have to be either reviewed, or if anybody wants a copy of the mission statement, this is page 3 in the policy manual. And the words that I'm most concerned with is, again, this was written and approved 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. We are in the mission statement and the vision statement. It states volunteer firefighters twice, and we are a combination department because we have paid individuals, and indeed we're about to have a collective bargaining agreement. So my suggestion, my recommendation is that we remove, or the word remove of volunteer is removed, and we put combination or something to that effect in there. We have an acknowledgement that we have both rather than just the one.
Well, my suggestion, Dave, because we're not just firefighters, some people are just medics. What if we just put emergency responders?
Perfect, whatever you guys want.
Well, what if we said firefighters?
I was gonna suggest that.
Just take volunteer out.
Volunteer out.
Can,
Firefighter and medic.
yeah.
Department firefighters and medics, or agency firefighters and medics. And then the last sentence, yeah, on the mission statement needs to reflect both jobs, not just firefighters.
Firefighter. Wherever you put firefighters, I'd put. Yeah. I would say and.
And slash.
I'd say firefighters, medics.
So I can retype this and then make copies and let everybody take a look at it.
In the last statement of the sentence of the vision, I think we need a and between life and safety. Would that accurately convey what it's trying to say?
Focusing on life safety.
Yeah, life safety is more of the industry term where that's like the number one. Life safety is first, then the other things.
So that is correct grammar.
Protecting life, yeah. It's,
Life safety, okay.
yeah, when you rank them. Life, property,
Environment.
yeah. So depending on how you quote them if you really want to, but typically it's life safety is the top.
Okay,
What it would be.
I can see why it looks like a grammar thing, but
okay. But that's if that's an industry term, then that's all the explaining I needed.
Firefighters, that's some research.
And lastly, this is the bid that we got from the contractor on placing the sign. It's less than I thought, but if you look at the last of the Morton's bid there, it has a list of inclusions and it also has listed exclusions. And I have to I'll probably call up Jeff Holmes at Morton and ask him, so what would you what does this bid have us do? Because I honestly, I was expecting on the Gordon bid to be around 9, that's what I was told. So together, that's a lower price. And I just like the lower price, but I want to make sure that I don't get into something that's a little deeper. I don't want to pull the yard in the sweater, so to speak.
So. Trenching, backfill, concrete work is all part of this bid.
Not the
Big
Trenching.
prep. Well, trenching. Trenching,
I'm taking the 512C.
didn't we? Run conduit out there,
We didn't run. Yeah,
Conduit
conduit
out there.
Yes,
Yes.
but we still got a trench then?
we have to trench from where the conduit is to where the sign is. That's why it's just like 10, 12 feet.
We didn't. Put the conduit to the wrong spot.
Well, actually,
I
it's
got
probably
good
like
location.
2 places,
Okay,
but the sign, actually that telephone pole that's out there, we're not very fond of it, but the sign being in a position where it could be seen by people coming from both directions, we have to move the sign over a little bit.
okay. So we still have to get somebody to do the trenching. But they're digging, prepping the base for the sign, prepping
Yes.
the rebar,
Correct.
prepping the forming core, place the sign on the pad, so that's all covered. They're just not trenching.
Correct.
Yeah, you can prep base sign, yeah.
I mean, if he's already got the excavator
Well,
here,
Well, and we only have, I think it's like 12 feet of where the conduit comes out. And Jeff gave me a sweep.
That's one scoop.
yeah, I mean, right, that's what I was thinking, if they're already.
Farmland I'm sorry.
But,
Cause they gotta dig the base out anyway.
yeah, they gotta dig the base out and it's gonna be, the hole's gonna be larger than the base.
Yep.
So that they can frame it up
So you might not.
and all
have
that
to dig
stuff,
12
so
feet.
it may not be,
I mean, some shovel work, a fat bald up guy and Andy.
Well, but no, I'm saying if the excavator's already there digging the pad, have him reach over and dig that 10 feet from where the conduit ends to the pad. I mean,
That's been discussed, you betcha.
charge you $50 for, you know, a few more minutes or whatever that minimal cost will be.
I think that would be an option.
Well, by then it's $5,000, so that's why you have, that's what this is putting down for you to say, yes, this is okay. Equal it 10% over, 10% under, or something to that effect, or the alternative is to wait until we can all start breathing easier on July 2 when the new budget starts and
I get that we're putting in the power to the sign,
Mhm.
but how much are we actually lighting the parking lot?
Well, there was another option here to provide light pole and base.
Okay,
That's a second option from Gordon's.
right,
And
so it's
what,
an option, it's not.
we would have to choose it. I mean, there's two different prices there. One is
Okay,
power to the sign,
okay,
and one is to provide a pole, a base, and light and power it up. And the bases are, what they're gonna get is a manufactured base from like, precast. And so down here in the exclusions is setting and compacting the pole base. So Gordon's would not set that base. They would provide the base, but they would not set that base. I don't know if that's something that other guys
could do.
could do, and they may add a little bit more on it to do that. But depending on where were they planning on putting the pole?
There are two, traffic cones out front in the gravel, in the basalt rock. That is the marker, and the sign is about, well, you know, it's 2 feet wide and about 12 feet long.
Okay.
So will the sign and the light bulb be the same,
Yes,
generally same place?
yes,
And they would use the same, probably the same circuit to feed both of them.
yep.
So
So they would just have to pull in one circuit from the panel out there.
So could you put the pole on the same pad as the sign? Just extend that pad out a little bit?
That's what I was led to believe from my discussion with Jeff, that the sign would be here on a wall and the light post would be right next to it,
But it's gonna be on a separate base.
on its own base, yes.
Yeah.
But is that one light big enough to do the whole parking lot? Or do we need to put in
I would not,
multiple?
No,
Be
I
able to
think,
say that for sure.
I think it would be enough. Depending on the fixture, I don't know what fixture they're talking about, but if it's a floodlight fixture that mounted on a yoke that they could kind of aim it, I think it would cover the parking.
You just hang on that pole up there.
So, question, comment. I know that we've discussed this before about putting a light on the parking lot. We also know that the sign is going to emit quite a bit of light. So help me understand this. Do a lot of people come here after dark? In a typical week?
What month?
Or are we putting up a light pole out there for one night every month so that the board members can find their cars after the meeting? Are we putting out this big expenditure of the electricity costs and the cost to put it in there just so we can have a lighted parking lot for when we're done with our meetings? Because otherwise, the guys on shift, they get off at 8 in the morning. It's already light.
Yeah, but November and December, it gets dark at 3:30 and we still may have people coming in and out till 5.
Right, but the sign is going to emit a lot of light that could potentially light up the parking lot. I'm just asking, do we need this extra expenditure just so the board is comfortable walking to their cars at night?
It's a little more than that. You have, your front doors here with a bell, you have a response for people who come up into the parking lot. So you're lighting the way for your customers as well. And in the winter time, when you're dark at 4 PM, yeah, you need it out there when you're.
Oh yeah, I'm just throwing that out there for discussion.
It's not something that may get used a lot during the summertime when we're.
Right.
A lot later, but there are times when you definitely want to have it out there, and I would feel that that would be something that's,
We want to provide.
you're wanting to provide for purposes of.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that it was something that was going to be utilized more than just for board members to get to their cars. Because that seems like we're the ones that have the complaints like, dang, it's dark out there. I gotta find my car after the board meeting. And if that was the only reason we were putting up a light pole, I don't see it really.
The light cast light as you're approaching and coming off of Bannister in and out. Trucks going out of here and out, so.
Well, and if the sign is emitting so much light, should we put the pole over here so that it's both sides?
I don't know how much light the sign's emitting, because I haven't seen it. So I think we're.
And as to your, if you put the light pole over here, there's no conduit out there for electrical.
Okay.
So you gotta go, we've already put in electrical for future, a conduit for future electrical.
Oh,
So
okay.
you need to, I mean, then it's gonna cost a lot more to run a circuit through the attic or whatever, and down the wall and over to the ground and back up to a light pole if you do it over here. Whereas we've already got the conduit out there. So I think the cost would be probably a lot more expensive. Since when we built the building, we thought ahead and put a conduit out there for it.
Okay.
That would be my thought.
I support it. I think there's a couple questions about, can it all be installed on the same pad with one pour, one dig, one thing, or, I didn't have to do that twice. So hopefully this includes a pad, but it doesn't say how big it just says dig and prep sign base. It doesn't say how big the pad is and how much concrete they're gonna pour and.
We've got a template for the pad and schematics that we gave the contractor that he's basing his bid off that. And I, if that's in the room, I don't have it here with me now. It's about 3 feet by 12, like 8.
Cause my only concern doesn't say 3 foot by 12 foot concrete pad.
Well, I'm sure he,
4 foot by 14 foot whatever to accommodate it, you know, so. I would like to see I would like to see some dimensions on that so that we know, hey, we can fit everything there, it's gonna be big enough, or no, we're gonna have to do another one. If that makes sense. I want to pour twice and do 4 pads and have. You know, 2 different types of beer. Got it. Is that jiving? And if that's already pre-worked out, I'm okay with it.
not sure how much more concrete they would have to pour to accommodate the base if it's going to the end of the sign. Right next to it, they may have to take their.
Well, the full base that has been bid here is a pre-made base, so you're not gonna have to pour any concrete for that.
So it freestands.
You have to have a hole to put it down into, and it
Oh, okay,
freestands.
so it freestands.
So you're not
So it doesn't-
pouring any concrete
So it
around
doesn't set on the concrete, it's not one of those big bases that just sets on the concrete.
No, what he's talking about here is it's gonna be a round concrete piece with the bolts already set in it, and you just drop it down into a hole. It's probably 2.5 to 3 feet deep. 2.5, 3 feet long, the base is, and that just goes down into a hole.
Pour concrete.
And you don't have to pour concrete on it, you just backfill around it.
Just back, oh,
So that's, but it's setting and compacting the prefab full base is one of the things that was excluded. It would have to be set and then compacted around it,
okay,
but Gordon's Electric has excluded that from their bid.
gotcha.
Whether we would be willing to do that for extra money, I don't know, but that's typically an excavator would set those. And if he's already out there, I don't know how much more it would be.
Yeah, so I apologize.
But there's no more concrete that has to be poured for it. It's a pre-made thing that you just set in the ground and compact around, and it's ready to go to put your light in.
But somebody's gotta dig the hole,
But somebody'd have to dig the hole to put it in.
do the backfill, and I guess it's, yeah,
And then backfill around it, yeah.
Who needs to work off the granny goodies? Make them do the whole.
That,
I tried asking once, and
well,
so I would actually
is there a,
talk to these guys and see.
yeah, is there a timeline on when these expire? And when there's some coordination between the two, right, that needs to happen. So, I'm assuming we would turn it over to them to align their schedules and make it all work. I'd just be curious how much more that's gonna be to do the dig for the pole
we
base.
can certainly ask him to give us another quote that involves that.
And it might be good to talk to Jeff and get clarification on that and see. So do we need to talk to the other guys and see?
Been in the shop once, got a sweep, the 90-degree sweep in the 5-foot conduits. I can certainly go back.
Yeah.
So we can-
It'd give me a little more comfort on a number to approve, but I'm supportive of it, I just like to see that number. There's no rush or hurry on this. I mean, we wanna get it done, but. put it
It's not
off
gonna beat up out there in the bag. It's.
Put another month, put it off another month, not gonna. On this.
No,
I think it actually make Dave feel a little better.
Well, just wanna get there are some things you put to bed and just fight fire in the summer, and this is one, we can still take care of this next month, it's fine.
Well, I mean, I don't wanna approve that number and then you come back and it's gonna be another $2,000 to do more. It
Right.
doesn't make a lot of sense.
Understood.
So,
Yeah.
I don't-
Agreed.
I wouldn't ask anybody to approve a number that we don't know of yet.
Yep.
So,
Well, based on what we know now for sure about it's not just a base that goes onto a concrete, which I confess, I thought there was a bolted into the concrete and it's done.
That's what I was picturing.
That's what I thought. So
I mean, you could do that, but typically you would have to have something anyway to set the bolts in. And then you're setting the bolts and pouring concrete around it and. All that stuff. This is a prefab thing that all the bolts, you order it with the bolt spacing for the pole. And it comes.
Sounds like it makes a lot of sense. Just be simple.
We used to pour pole bases all the time. And it was a pain in the butt.
oh god, for a couple.
I think we're to the good of the order then.
I will start. Just want to make sure everybody votes. Next Tuesday. Okay. And I want to thank Jill for all her work.
Thanks, Jill.
Thank you, Jill.
Make sure to write Terry in, is that what you're saying?
My position is filled.
We have an
I mean,
opening
there's
on the
somebody
medic
on
board.
I'll be more than happy to step aside.
My go to the order, I'm curious on how the PERS meeting went.
I received an email today and the goalpost is moved in and I'll do exactly what is now said to be done before I put anything in front of the bosses. That's
So we're not starting in June is what you're saying?
July 1,
July.
that's still the date.
Okay,
But in order to change our start date from 1/1/2025, PERS has not taken any money from our accounts. In order to change it from there to July 1, 2025, there's some other things that I have to do.
okay,
I wish it was, but I'll see to it.
fair enough. And then I guess I would just, following up on Matt's previous comment on how do we streamline expenses going forward, I feel very strongly that we need to continue to pursue merging the districts. And I understand that there's a lot of stuff that's happening the next month or two between filling vacant positions and budgets and all, but I think it'd be very doable still to pursue a next May vote. And I would like, maybe 2 months out from now to have a proposal of timeline, all the tasks that have to be tackled, consulting with the Umatilla County attorney to make sure that the boundary thing isn't an issue, so I guess I just throw that out there as one more step in the process.
Well, I will echo, yes, I think that's critical key for all this stuff is to continue that path. I would, a year timeline is doable. I think that's not too soon to try to rush it in there, but it's time for us to make the proper notifications. And again, I think the map work is gonna be the hardest part of that, is getting all the lines to line up the right way. Cause there's a lot of stuff that will be out of either board's hands on where those lines are.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I would concur with that. And I'd also like to say thanks to Jill for being part of this, even though it was a short time, it was nice to have you here.
Thank you. I learned a lot.
Do
to
adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Okay. Moved by Terry,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mark. Those in favor?
Aye.
8:38.